Hello, welcome to our investment session. Today we are very honored to have Mirai Global X Elaine to share with us some insights on investment. Hello, Elaine.
Hi, Elton. Thank you very much.
Yeah, nice to meet you again. And by the way, now is November of 2022, and we all know that the US Fed increased the rate by 3.75% in this year. Now it is standing at 4%. What is any insight or your view on the interest rate?
In the FinTech Week and Hong Kong Financial Summit, there are a lot of leaders and analysts expecting a higher interest rate to continue. And I guess many believe the Fed is not done yet because the inflation are stubbornly high at this moment, and a rate increase in December seems almost certain, whether it's 0.5% or 0.75%. The hope is that the pace of the interest rate increase will start to slow down a bit, and many are wondering what's next, and currently the future market imply a 0.5 percentage point increase of interest rate in December.
I see. So it looks like besides equity or stocks, fixed income or bond becomes a necessary part in our investment portfolio. By the way, can you let us know the difference between bond and bond ETF?
Sure, there are a lot of differences, but I'll select three main key differences between a bond, an individual bond, and bond ETF. So an individual bond can be issued by the government or companies and with a fixed maturity date, whereby investor can get their initial investment or principal amount back at the maturity. Whereby bond ETF is a basket of different individual bonds. It's also tracking an underlying bond index, but there is no fixed maturity. There is regular index review to add or remove bond when it's get matured or become ineligible. So that's number one. Number two, an individual bonds are usually trade at OTC, over the counter, via banks, and the price quotations is not very much transparent compared to bond ETF, which is similar to a stock or equity ETF, which is listed on the stock exchange. Price is completely transparent and you can trade real-time via your broker or your brokerage account. Number three, which is more important, is the initial investment amount. So usually, for example, a US dollars bond that trade via banks or OTC might cost you around like 200,000 US dollars one par. Whereas for bond ETF, which is, for example, the 3059 ETF, we just launched in August, the initial investment amount is like around like 2,600 Hong Kong dollars per unit. So it's more low cost and flexible for investor to consider.
I see. Yeah, you just mentioned the counter 3059. I understand it's a bond ETF issued by Mirai Global X in 2022 August. Can you let us know more about this green bond ETF?
Sure, certainly. So green bond is pretty much similar as a fixed income security, which is more resilient in the market volatility period. And a key features of green bond is that they are issued specifically to fund climate actions projects in the areas such as renewable energies, pollution controls, green buildings or sustainable water, etc. And the reason we launched this Global X Bloomberg MSCI Asia X Japan Green Bond ETF is that we have seen Asia government and company is actually putting a lot of efforts and investment money into things that tackle the climate change. And Asia Pacific has become the world's second largest issuer of green bond. That's present a huge investment opportunity for investors. This is why we introduced 3059 ETF in August. It is the third ETF that recognized by SFC as an ESG ETF from our shop. It is also the first green bond ETF that has a focus on Asia Pacific region.
Okay, got it. By the way, what is the index it is following, and can you let us know what are the top holding in the ETF?
Sure. We'll spend a little bit of time in explaining this ETF and how we construct this. So first of all, it's tracking an underlying index called Bloomberg MSCI Green Bond Index. And currently, the underlying consists investment grade bond, IG bond, which is higher quality, and it's denominated in US dollars. So given the US dollars is strengthened, it might be attractive for investors. And for the underlying index, currently there are 46 issuers and 89 bonds. We used to tell investors that there are 2 high, 1 low of this 3059 ETF. So number 1, high credit rating. It consists of investment grade of A2 and A3 bonds. It's a higher yield of around 4 to 5% currently, and it's lower default risk. The reason is that a lot of these green bonds are actually issued by local government or supranational, such as Asian development banks and blue chips corporations. This is especially attractive for investors who are seeking for a more stable income. So for the top 5 issuer or constituents bond in this 3059 ETF, including the government of Republic Indonesia, and its weighting is 8.5%. The Hong Kong government, they has been issuing a lot of green bonds in the past, and currently the weighting is about 8.2%. There is also ICBC, Bank of China, around like 7% of weighting, as well as Asian development banks accounting for 4.7% weighting. The average maturity of this index of 3059 ETF is about 4.5 years, but more importantly, and investors should be focusing on the durations. So duration is measuring the sensitivity of a bond price to the change of interest rate. So literally, the shorter the durations, the less sensitive the bond price will be impacted by the interest rate change. So for this 3059 ETF, currently the durations is about less than 4 years, kind of like short durations.
Yeah, this part just let the audience know there are 2 key points on bond or fixed income. One is that as market interest rate goes up, the bond price will go down. And then secondly, the shorter the duration, the smaller the changes in the bond price or
Correct.
bond ETF price.
Yeah,
thanks, Elaine. So how is the performance of 3059 now, and what is the yield, the dividend yield of this bond ETF?
Sure. As an ETF provider, we are expecting a distributions of this ETF semi-annually in March and September.
Right.
So investor can have a look at the distributions announcement we have in the upcoming March. And in terms of the performance, we did a back testing to look at the past 3 years performance result. This Bloomberg MSCI Asia Pac ex-Japan Green Bond Index can outperform the broad-based Asia Pac Index, as well as the Bloomberg Global Green Bond Index and the Global Composite Index in general. So demonstrate greater resilience over the market sell-off. So because of the global central banks keep increasing the interest rate to fight against the high inflations, it put a lot of volatility to the bond market and causing the bond yield to soar. It's also impacting the Asia green bonds. So the yield of Asia green bond has been raised from 1.3% to almost like 5% within a short period of time, representing quite attractive entry point for investor.
I see. And when investor invest in green bond or green bond ETF, what kind of concern they should care about?
Apart from the yield as well as return, another concern or other things that investor might look at, that is called greenwashing. And to tackle greenwashing, the index companies or the ETF issuers, we will look at the pre-issuance and post-issuance of green bonds, and we have assessment. There will be an internal, external green bond framework, and the periodic index review by the index company is also help underpin the credibility of green bonds.
I see. So I learned a new word, greenwashing, pretending to be green.
Correct.
All right. Okay. By the way, 3059 is pretty newly listed. I understand it's listed in 2022 August. What is the AUM size now, and what is the management fee?
Yeah, it's pretty new product to the market, and having less than 3 months listing history, the AUM asset under management is around 200 million Hong Kong dollars. So, and hopefully it will continue to grow aligned with the market development. And the management fee of a bond index is usually less than equity index. So for example, this 3059 ETF, the management fee is an all-in fee of 0.4%. While the market is still volatile and adding a lot of volatility to the bond market, as well as the yields, perhaps for investors who are looking for stable income opportunity as well as adding resilience to their investment portfolios, can consider this green bond ETF.
I see. And by the way, we got to let the audience know 3059 green bond ETF share price in early November 2022 is around $50 to $51 per share, and one lot is 50 shares. So the minimum investment amount is about 2,500 or 2,600 Hong Kong dollar. And lastly, a commercial. If investor is buying an ETF through Phillip Securities, any online buy order under 30,000 Hong Kong is free of commission. And of course, in Hong Kong, if you trade ETF, there's no stamp duty as well. So finally, we give a great thanks to Yiling's elaboration today.
Thank you, Elton. Thank you all.
Thank you, Yiling.